Hello everyone and welcome to the last video of Basics of First-Person Shooter series. In this series we have seen from the very basics inputs of moving to more advanced knowledge like map awareness and timing. All we have seen comes together when it turns to interact with other players. That's what we are mainly going to do in first-person shooters, from communicating and supporting your team to shoot at your opponents. This is what we are going to address in this video: communication and lethality, how to effectively interact with your team and how to effectively interact with your opponent. On the next minutes, we are going to see some definitions, examples and exercises that will help you improve your communication, knowing your opponent and your success in engagement on any first-person shooter. If you like this video, press the like button and keep tuned for the upcoming content. I've got some nice ideas in mind that you might like no matter which first-person shooter game you're playing. Let's get to it. First we will see the basics of knowing your teammates. No matter if you're playing with friends or random matchmaking, every player you get matched on your team has their own preference. It could be represented as the weapons they choose, character they're using, maybe how much money they have during the game if you're playing with a cash system. Any of these and more will represent the playstyle and options they will have on the match, and you should know this in order to make some decisions. Now we are going to punctualize some aspects in order for you to know what I'm talking about here. 1. Know your teammates' needs. Each decision your teammates make leave them exposed on some aspect. Maybe they're using a sniper which makes them vulnerable on short ranges, or they're low on money so they can't buy some stuff, or they're in a certain position where they need some cover. Their character might also have certain weaknesses that you're aware of. In most cases, they will not tell you explicitly any of this. You have to know it based on their decisions. This is something you have to understand and know in order to support them and be prepared for a fight considering their flaws, and yours, of course. 2. Communicate what you have. What and how you communicate information will determine a lot of engagements, and I mean from the preparation phase when you are not fighting to the engagements you will have during the game. Ask yourself, there's anything about my equipment, character or something I will do they should know? Maybe you have some special item, utility or ability that could help them on certain situations, or you have prepared some sort of play beforehand that they can be part of. 3. Communicate effectively. Now that you have something to say it short and concise. I've got this utility, I'm using this on that spot. Don't overextend. If you have lots of information to say, there's a lot happening. Try to keep this information precise for the next move. In order to make a decision of what you should do next, exchange short phrases with only the information needed. For those of you that are timid and don't like to put much voice into the game, use the tools the game has. Pings can be as effective or even more than some callouts. But still, at some point, especially if you're planning on playing some competitive or currently doing so, you have to train your callouts. A lot of specific stuff can't be saved from other way. 4. Skill level. At the first minutes of playing with teammates, you should have a glance of their skill level. There are some indicators that you can use for this, like pre-match stats or rank on competitive. Do not use this information to rank yourself among them like, I'm better than this one and this other one is at my level. It's pointless and won't give you any advantage. Instead, use this information to analyze what sort of playstyle you should expect from them. These 4 aspects are not all of the things you should pay attention, but they will put you in the right way of better knowing your teammates, ask the right questions and share the right information. We could expand this list a lot, but what I'm interested in is for you to be aware of your teammates, support them and let them support you. Nobody likes the player that goes by himself and wants to make the plays clip, and most of the time fails by doing so. Most of the awesome clutches you see from pro players are done because a team was behind that placed the conditions to make the play happen. It is not only individual skill. If you're going alone, think of the opportunities that decision will give to your team and the flaws they'll have because you're not with them. Okay everyone, let's see some examples of exercises to help you with knowing your teammates. Apex Legends has a banner at the beginning of the match where you can see some stats that they have shared for the specific character they're playing. Also in the inventory menu in-game you can see what kind of weapons they're using and that could give you a glance of what they need. Also you can ask them for specific add-ons for your weapons or health items via ping system. You can also use these character abilities on certain situations and make some team plays like use your ultimate here so we can push through or escape and any of the sort. Valorant and Counter-Strike have an economy system where you have to buy weapons each round, and according to the round you should manage this money effectively, so everyone on the team is on the same page. If one of the team has better performance, he can buy weapons for the rest of players. Also, there is utility represented as grenades on Counter-Strike and abilities on Valorant that will have huge impact on engagement, and the team has to know what kind of utility is available for the round. HyperScape has an evolving weapons and utility system where each time you find the same weapon or utility, it evolves to improve its features like damage, magazine, cooldown, etc. If you know what weapons your team has, you can help them evolve their equipment faster, which will translate into more powerful tools for the next engagements. Let's take a little break here where I want to tell you that it's really important for me to know I'm helping you and know your thoughts about what we're seeing, so if you have any doubts or want to ask something, you can leave a comment and subscribe to see it done. Now, for the second part, we are going to talk about the big thing, interacting with your opponents. According to what we have seen on previous videos, you have to know the mechanics of shooting and movement. You also have to consider your current map awareness and the timing of the game. There is a few more mechanics you have to consider when it comes to interacting with your opponents. The first one is the hitbox. A hitbox is an invisible shape for real-time collision detection that is attached to the character model. It detects if the shots are actually landing on the players. If you're playing with a big character, you have a bigger hitbox. Small characters have small, so it's harder to land shots on them. This is something you have to consider when you're shooting and getting shot. In most cases, the hitbox does not match exactly the character models, but is misplaced by almost unnoticeable dimensions that, on a highly competitive game, could have a big impact. You should know how the hitbox works on your game and use it for your advantage. Most of the time it's pretty intuitive and you don't have to think much about it, but sometimes when you see how they knock you, maybe you say, hey, but that didn't even hit me. No, but it did hit your hitbox, and you now know that the hitbox is not necessarily truthful to what you can actually see as character models. This is of course a developing error that works different according to the graphics engine the game is using and latency, but in my experience every game has a slightly little detail on how the hitbox is placed. The next thing we are going to see is latency. Latency is the time interval between the input on your keyboard or controller and for your character on screen to respond to that input. It's measured and often called ping on video games. Not the pings you make as communication, this is another kind. Ping is the measurement of how many milliseconds it takes for the server of the game you're playing to respond to your inputs. If your ping is high, let's say 150, every key you press will take 150 milliseconds to get to the game. So in case that you are shooting, it will take 100 milliseconds for the shot to get out of your gun every time you press the button. The average reaction time of a human is 200 milliseconds, so let's put on a case. Let's say you and your opponent are matched one in front of each other with your crosshair ready to shoot, all West style. Now consider that you have 100 of ping and your opponent has only 50 of ping. If you both react at the exact same time, he has 100 milliseconds advantage over you. If you're both at the average reaction time of 200 milliseconds, you won't make it. You will have to be a shooting machine with 100 milliseconds of reaction time in order to be at the same time of your low ping opponent. It is a big deal and many players use lag, term used when you have high ping value, as an excuse for losing fights. But it is not. Us humans are amazing beings with the ability to adapt to adverse conditions, and you can adapt your inputs to a high latency game. This means in the previous example that you have to predict 100 milliseconds in the future every move you will make. And guess what? Your brain does it by itself. Once you have played some high ping matches, you will still land your shots as fast as you will have 20 of ping. But you have to be aware of this delay, or else you will be raging over lag for the rest of the gaming times. And still, this is considering you are fighting always style right in front of each other with your crosshairs ready, and first-person shooter fights are seldom like this. There are a lot of factors that will alter the result in favor of any player according to their decisions, as we have seen on every video on this series. So lag might work as an excuse, but it's not a good one. Of course, there are cases where your ping is way too high, like 300, and that makes your connections unstable. You can have packet losses. This means that not every input you make is being sent to the server, so there are things you are doing that are simply not registering to the game, and in those cases it's better to take a break and not playing. Check the connection with your provider or if the servers of the game are unstable or too far away from your physical location. Let's get back to facing your opponents. On every game, the moving mechanics have big impact on the landing of your shots, because not only your opponent will be moving, you are going to do it as well, and this little dance that's made while shooting between each other is what will go until any of you gets knocked. Besides, you are probably not facing a single opponent, he has a team, and probably he already pinged your position, so you have to be switching positions regularly. Staying on one single spot waiting for your opponent will work for a very short time. After some moments, peek from another location to gather more information. If you keep peeking from the same spot, you're making it easy for your opponents to knock you. To exercise facing your opponents, all you have to do is put you in situations you have to solve, and start seeing a pattern on when you perform better. When this happens, ask yourself why. Does it have to do with something you did? Was more of the conditions of the game you were playing? Your opponents were not as skilled? Now try to circle answers to things you have control on. If you're good at this, you will be surprised on how much each small improvement you've been making is affecting heavily on your performance. Of course, maybe changing your crosshair is a small thing, but if you sum it up with improving your crosshair positioning, taking cover more effectively, moving from one spot to another faster, using utility at the right time, practicing your aim, knowing your character abilities, and so on, each little thing you will learn today will sum up for the rest of days. At this pace, if you do it every day, in 1 month you will be a completely different player. When you're playing, make sure you're always learning or practicing something. We all know we are not perfect. Everybody has flaws, and as long as you're aware of them and working on them, you will keep getting better. These improvements pass unnoticed much of the time and require consistency, so they become part of your regular playstyle. Recording your own matches are very useful, so you can watch them later and critique about what you did wrong and what good decisions you made. Unfortunately, it's not enough just playing the game. You have to practice in other ways and make sure your mind is clear when you want to play seriously, because if you have real life chores to do, you won't be able to concentrate. Then anxiety and frustration will take on the stage, not letting you perform as you would like, entering into an endless circle where only you are in control. Check the reels and make sure nothing is distracting you. This way you will enjoy the experience of playing fully. Don't use gaming to escape from other problems, because that will make it a problem by itself. Enjoy your time gaming. First-person shooters are a beautiful way to put yourself in situations of challenge and quick decision-making problems that are very rewarding when correctly solved. Okay everyone, this is all for today's video and also the end of this series. If you watched through here, I really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting me, and from now on I will upload more content and more series, more videos of first-person shooter technical knowledge, so make sure to keep tuned and subscribe. I'm Capo, thank you for watching and see you next time.